Well, in order to solve this expression, we want to find where x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0, where x minus 5 is less than or equal to 0, and where negative 2 minus x is less than or equal to 0. So first I'm going to set each of the factors equal to 0 and solve. So when x equals a negative 3, x equals 5, and negative 2 equals x, or x equals a negative 2. These are critical values that I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at negative 3, negative 2, and 5. Well, in order to solve where these are less than or equal to 0, I'm going to test points in between each of these critical values. How I'm going to do this is I'm going to set up a table labeling each factor and an end result. For example, by testing negative 4, by plugging negative 4 in, I get a negative. Plugging negative 4 into x minus 5, I also get a negative. And plugging negative 4 in, I get a positive. These three factors are being multiplied in the original equation, so I will multiply a negative times a positive for a final result of a positive. So I know that there's a positive value to the left of negative 3. Now in between negative 3 and negative 2, no real great points, so I'll have to plug in negative 2.5, which is a positive, negative value, and a positive value. Multiplying these three, I get a negative. So I know in between negative 3 and negative 2 are negative values, which are less than or equal to 0. So I know that this will be one solution. I'll test 0 because that's the easiest point in between negative 2 and 5, getting a positive, negative, and negative values. So multiplying those three, I get a positive. And finally, I'll test 6. 6 plus 3 is a positive, 6 minus 5 is a positive, and negative 2 minus 6 is a negative value. Multiplying those three, I get a negative. Now, why I used this sign chart was to help me find where values are less than or equal to 0. Well, I know they're equal at negative 3, negative 2, and 5, but they're less than in between negative 3 and negative 2, and less than from negative 5 to infinity. And I'm going to use brackets to show the equal to portion, leaving me with my final interval notation of from negative 3 to negative 2, brackets, and from 5 to positive infinity. And infinity is always in an open, since there is no final answer or final number that you can hit with infinity. Therefore, this is my final answer.